Dad kills newborn with crossbow is a hell of a title. This guy might be going for douchebag of the year, but who knows? Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Let's watch and react, Cave Dwellers.
A scared rat. Those are the words of a local sheriff in upstate New York, and you'll understand why the sheriff is calling him that name, and you may have some stronger words after I tell you this story. That man killed his 17-day-old daughter with a crossbow. This is a horrific case, and somehow this man makes it even worse.
At no point in time did he ever ask, how's my wife? How's my 3-week-old child? Never showed any remorse. Talked about how it wasn't that big of a deal.
And just wait until you hear what this man did in the moments after he shot his newborn baby girl that the sheriff says not just makes him a killer and a rat, but a coward. We're on the case presented by Law&Crime.
That's torture.
I'm Chris Stewart.
Holy shit, that's torture.
As a parent, frankly, as a human being, this story makes you feel something in your chest for a lot of reasons. This is Patrick Profefriedt. He's 28 years old and he's from rural Broome County, New York, which is near Binghamton. In June 2023, Patrick was given the gift of becoming a dad. This is the Facebook post that Patrick put up on June 9th, 2023, holding baby Eleanor. They called her Ella. The caption is "My little baby girl." But I will tell you, don't let a cute Facebook
R.I.P. baby Eleanor, man.
Posts like that fool you about who this person really is. On June 26th, 2023, when baby Ella was just 17 days old, Patrick and his wife got into an argument in the middle of the night over the baby crying, as all newborn babies do. Patrick then went into another room and grabbed a crossbow and fired one round into the room where his wife was holding baby Ella. Both of them were hit. The woman and the newborn. His wife survived, but baby Ella lost her life at just 17 days old.
The arrow went through the little girl and the mother. Oh, she must have didn't see that coming. Oh, you think her reaction would be to like move the baby real quick? He must have did that shit fast. Just turned the corner and she must have like, what the fucking crossbow?
It's hard to imagine what would make this story even worse, even more frustrating, make you feel those emotions in your chest, but somehow this man found a way to do it. With his daughter hit with a round from a crossbow, Patrick then grabbed his wife's phone so she couldn't call for help, according to deputies.
Fucking coward. Look how little she is. Anywhere that crossbow hit is just like instant fucking death. Oh,
instead of doing something to help his baby girl and his wife, Patrick ran. Deputies arrested him in the woods, less than a mile from his house. Here's what the sheriff said in a news conference after Profefriedt's sentencing last week. He was sentenced to a minimum of 25 years in prison.
After the defendant in this case took the life of his own child, he ran in the woods and hid like a scared rat. Scared rat. And it was because of the relentless pursuit of the men and women of law enforcement. They were able to flush him out and take him into custody. I am grateful and appreciative of Judge Cawley for handing down the maximum sentence. But in a case like this, 25 years doesn't seem appropriate.
Well, as soon as he said that, I was like, what? Where's the life? Where's the life at? The death penalty at? Where is that at?
If you'll excuse my candor, a pine box seems appropriate to me.
The woman you see to the left of the screen in the red pants, standing with deputies, is the mom, the wife, who survived that round from a crossbow. And I'll tell you what she said to her husband in court in just a moment during his sentencing. But even in the hours after his arrest, the district attorney says that Profefriedt showed zero remorse. Here's video of Patrick Profefriedt in court during his sentencing per WBNG TV. In that hearing, prosecutors played the 911 call that Profefriedt's wife finally was able to make after her husband ran away.
In those early morning hours, a 911 call was made by Megan, who grasped her daughter tightly. That 911 call was played in court today. For 22 minutes, Megan had to watch, observe, and feel her daughter pass.
Profefriedt's wife addressed the judge in court ahead of her husband's sentencing, and per WBNG TV, she said, quote, "But he is beyond forgiveness. He has no empathy and no humanity. If he is capable of redemption, he has not shown it." 25 years to life was the maximum sentence that the state of New York allowed in this case. Before we get back.
In what case? What do they mean by that? In the case of you killing a damn infant, your child, attempting to kill two people? Like, in what case? What do they mean by that? Somebody enlighten me.
To this case, I want to take a break and bring you a law and crime legal alert action as you just go through the details of what this guy did that night to kill his baby girl.
Just brutality. I mean, you just nailed it. You know, there's actions that people take, and, you know, not to say that any case that I talk about or were involved in shocks me anymore, but this one is one of them because it's just so, you know, out of the norm and just brutal of what happened. And then the after effects, you know, what this guy did afterwards just boils your blood even more of what he did and his actions and attitudes afterwards.
He hides her phone, which is insane, for lack of a better term. And then he ends up running, you know, and this is at the point where his daughter is dying, his wife is injured, and he's running. When you're building a case, how do you gather that evidence when you go on the scene?
Where the baby was too loud yelling after 17 days, probably was fucking, the baby was hungry or cold or hot or wet. Usually one of the three: hungry, wet, cold. Like you that was your fucking reaction to come in, and he was mentally ill. I'll be surprised if he don't do an insanity plea. Why not? Like, I'd fucking probably believe it. Like, it'd be some, you fucking used a crossbow to hit your newborn and the wife. That was crazy.
And then piece together not just what he did, but then what he did after.
Right. Well.
Then you held the phone from her and ran like a fucking little rat.
Process in the scene, you know, being that it's an inside crime scene is pretty easy. You just close the door, no one comes in, and you just have the crime scene unit or yourself methodically go through every piece of evidence that's there. Because here's why, Chris, and some people don't realize this, but just to tell everyone, the preparation for trial begins as soon as you walk onto that crime scene. So everything that you're doing is going to lead to it being presented in a courtroom. So you have to be on target with everything. The action's already done, so your emotions get taken away from it, and you just start doing your job with getting every piece of evidence that's in that room that's going to lead to his prosecution.
And there's so many cases that we'll talk about where you find the suspect, in this case, a murderer, someone who did it. He's in prison for it. You see the Facebook page, and in this one, he posts that new dad picture with his child. And I mean, Facebook only tells one part of the story, but then to see what he did after, apparently showed no remorse. I don't know if we can ever understand the criminal mind, but take us inside from your experience in cases like this. What goes through the mind of someone who to this point appears to have been, you know, at least on the outside, here's the loving dad, but he was so far from that.
Right. And you nailed it. Pictures are pictures, you know, and don't tell the whole backstage or behind the scenes story of what's going on in that house or the.
How many people y'all know Facebook happy? A lot of couples Facebook happy. In real life, they can't stand each other.
Mental state of that person. And you know what, Chris, to be simple with it, sometimes crazy is just crazy.
Look at his little fucking face. Look at that, slap it. Melt some skin off.
You know, and there's no explanation for it. You can try like hell to deep dive into their minds or what they were thinking, and sometimes people are just like that. And to think about his actions afterwards clearly show, and this is why, you know, he's in jail forever, clearly show that he knew he did something wrong. It wasn't an accident. It was you know, maybe not planned, but his actions caused the death of his daughter and injured his wife, and stealing her cell phone and taking off. And then the attitude he had later all revolves around him really not caring that much about his family.
When I read this story for the first time, I remember thinking like, wow, this guy's a monster. And then I was like, you know, monsters almost, that's someone who's, it's almost a compliment sometimes to people when you call somebody a monster. Like in this case, the cowardice of someone who, also as a parent, and I'm not just always trying to play the like, oh, I'm a parent card, but it was over, the baby was crying in the middle of the night, which all babies do. It's part of being a parent. Everybody's tired as this baby isn't sleeping as they come home. And this guy couldn't take it. Like, what a weak person was just my response thinking about it. And then you hear about, as he goes into the interrogation room, that there isn't this moment of, oh my gosh, what have I done? It's, I'm going to get out, according to the prosecutors, I'm going to get out in 6 months. You have me on nothing. All these types of lines that it's just shocking that he would say that when
he might be going for an insanity plea.
You're in the interrogation room and you see the suspect taking that direction. What do you do?
You kind of just let him talk, because eventually he's going to jam himself up saying something. So you have to be patient when you have cases like this and when you're doing interviews or interrogations. And it's just, you have all the time in the world. There's no time limit. So if they're going to talk and just rattle off some things, you kind of let them, because they could say something in their ramblings that's going to lead to your next question that you may get them, you may tie them into a corner or whatever it might be. So my view of it when I dealt with people like this was let them talk. And when it was time to interrupt them and go back at them with misinformation that they had or trying to get them with certain facts, that's when you do it. But it is hard sometimes, especially when you have the circumstances you have as a dad and as a detective sitting there thinking of this baby in the condition that she ended up in. You have to just keep your emotions in check and do your job. But I always let them talk because they always jam themselves up.
And in this case, here he is being sentenced, and the words that he said on that night after he was arrested, the words he said in the interrogation room are being used against him years later in sentencing. As the detective who's doing the interviewing, not only is it, it seems like he's, not only are you gathering facts, let's just say, to then pin it against him that he did this crime, but then also are you listening? What are you listening for those almost sound bites, if it's, using TV terms, that can be used in a case when it comes to the sentencing? How far ahead are you thinking after that interrogation of where this interview could go?
Well, that's what I mean when I said this before. Even the interrogation is trial prep, because it's eventually going to come back. So that's why paying attention to everything they say is important. And a lot of times if you have, a partner, which you'll usually see two people in an interrogation room, one of them is doing the questioning and the other one is just taking the notes. So they're doing, that other detective is focusing on everything that individual says, and you're just writing frantically down everything he says so it's on record.
That makes sense. So he ain't got to stop, and it's just a smooth interrogation
of all his statements, and then that just gets passed to the prosecution for, like I said, hearings and the trial later on.
And if you can take us inside that dynamic as well, because in this case, we don't have the interrogation video. A lot of times here at Law&Crime, we do get that, and it's always fascinating to analyze the approach that detectives take. What is the strategy typically? What does a investigator who's doing an interview know going in there from their training compared to a regular person who would just be asking questions?
Well, there is a strategy, and it all depends on the person you're interviewing, their personality, the crime, the circumstances. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's all preparation beforehand. Me and my partner would always have a conversation beforehand of who's going to take the lead, who's going to kind of be the good guy, bad guy, who's going to lean in on just the facts of this. So there is a dynamic to it, and that just comes with experience, Chris, in doing so many, in who takes what role and who's even better at a certain role than the other guy. That's always the interview's over, right? And you're not continuing the interview. But as long as he does not say that and you have read him his rights, you can go on.
It seems for the state of New York in this case, she survives. But gosh, her baby daughter died.
Where was she hit?
In her arms. It's just horrific to think about. She's also hit by this round from a crossbow. How do you, as an investigator, when you're talking to her and you think of what she's been through, but also recognizing that in building a case, she's an asset for the investigators, how do you go about that?
Yeah, she's the witness. There's no other way to put it. She's the witness. So you're going to go by her time frame, and you're going to make it comfortable for her, being at what she went through to get the information you need from her. It may not be right away, or it may be right away as it's fresh in her head, but you're kind of guided by that witness. Where's a comfortable place to sit and talk? How much time is it going to take, taking a break and just realizing what this woman has gone through. But you still have to get the facts of this case. So that's why it could take a while to get to that point, but it's all about patience and just understanding what she's been through.
When you have someone, and it seems like she was very willing to be a participant in this investigation. I'll talk a little bit about what she said at her husband's sentencing in a moment, but realizing what she's been through, but also then having them understand
how important this is on before.
A lot of people will look at this and see all the facts that he tried to cover it up, the fact that he ran away when he could have helped. Not only did he just shoot his wife and his newborn with a crossbow, but then had zero remorse for it. You worked in New York, and I know we've, at times been critical of some of the sentencing laws there, but how does it typically work with someone getting the possibility of being out of prison in 25 years?
Yeah, the circumstances of this, he's going to have a tough time getting out in 25 years. And then it's going to extend to, a possible life sentence. But, you do have parole procedures that at a certain...
There's no way the parole board is letting him come home. Especially if the wife there and you got maybe cops, so you got videos, like even this, they can see. The future going to be crazy. They can look back on the case and look at it. They can look at this, see what we got to say about it and say, nah, let that man stay in jail.
Amount of time he is going, I don't know if there's a stipulation with a possibility of parole, but if there is, then that comes up and the arguments get made, and I don't see him getting out definitely before the 25 years and probably after that.
When it comes to parole, could be a completely different world 25 years from now. From this moment on, this inmate ends up being, the best inmate possible. He's cleaning toilets. He's sweeping up. Model citizen, has shown remorse.
There's always that 1%.
Remorse. That person he is in. Does a parole board, to your understanding, do they look at, here's the person he is now 25 years from now, or you can't go back without thinking of that night and everything wrong that he did that caused the death of that girl? How is that weighed?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to take into account his attitude and what he's doing in jail. That's fine. But the facts of the case are always going to come out again, and they're not going away. Statements he's made, actions he's done, and the cause of death is always going to come back, especially.
The cause of death is crazy. You think about it, if he had a gun or a knife, that'd be a different. Like maybe he overreacted, took the gun, and bow, right there, she's shot. He had to go get the crossbow. You got to put the damn arrow on the bow. You got to aim. You got to put pressure on it, put it back and the bow and extend it and then let it go. Like, it's a lot of steps in that. Like, nah, that's such a crazy death. Like, the baby must have bled to death or a lung collapse or something. It's so small. And I don't know which.
In hearings like that, it's never going to go away. It always comes back.
And for you, having unfortunately worked domestic violence cases in your career, as you talking about this story.
Yeah, violence, intimidation, you don't know what the dynamics of that marriage were. But, you brought up a great point before about pictures and all that. There's a whole nother side to this that people don't see. But someone knows. Whether it's the spouse, whether it's another family member or a friend, someone always has an idea of horrors that are going on in certain marriages. And those people are the ones that need to come forward and, let someone know of a violent nature that's going on in that house or the potential of criminality to happen or anything like that. These are tough. Domestic cases are tough, Chris. Me and you have talked about them before, and there's such a kind of dark side to it. But they're so complex and sometimes complicated. But someone always knows something is always ends up being the case.
And I also think about his wife. And not only did she speak in court saying that this is someone who doesn't have room for remorse in his body, but then she stands with the sheriff in a news conference after and just is actually there for the media availability. She didn't speak at that media availability, but what stands out to you about her having survived this, but then stood at the forefront?
Yeah, that lady standing here without her baby, looking down. She can't even look up. Does she know they're taking pictures? She don't even want to be here. Can you imagine on her face, like, what? I'm here? Like, I'm where? I'm Broome County District Attorney's Office? What? My husband did what?
So many ways to get justice for her baby girl.
Yeah, one strong woman, but her mindset is probably to her, that baby, and doing everything humanly possible she can do to stay strong and representing her child in this case. And I think
She gonna do it, man. Look at that sweet baby. All they got is these hospital photos. She still had fucking cradle cake on her. Look at that little baby. Oh, I just want to stare at her for fucking ever. Like he shot a fucking crossbow. I don't even like. I want to show up at his hearing in 25 years and say, "Yeah, I'm affected by what you did." That I think about it because that little baby. I might write a letter in 25 years. Somebody set an alarm on Cave Dwellers. We still gonna be here. Damn. Let me know what y'all think. 25 years of life, even though he's probably not going to get parole, and it's still gonna come up, and they're gonna see this and hear this in the testimony, and the wife probably still be there, the ex. Do y'all think that don't even it don't even seem right that he even gets that put? Like, why couldn't it be 25? I don't know. I guess it got to be to like what? Somebody explain that, please. If you're a lawyer, explain that to me, Gibbs. Why in this case? Like, if I go out to New York City and I shoot 2 people, can I not get life? And it should be more for domestic because that's your loved ones, the ones he was supposed to protect the most. Anybody else you're gonna rob to kill, but these 2 were the ones he was supposed to protect. So is that enough? 25 years to life enough? Let me know, Cave Dwellers. Like, share, subscribe, all that. Just the type of stuff we got to talk about. But there's some good in the world too. We're gonna get to that too. Fucking coward dad kills newborn with a crossbow.